situation. Happy evening, Sunday. To come back, let me thank my favorite God, Player, the song Sri Gananatham Bhajare Chittapara Shaktiyutam Sri Gananatham Bhajare Chittapara Shaktiyutam Sri Gananatham Bhajare Nagayajna Sutradharam Nagalaya Nandakaram Nagayajna Sutradharam Nagalaya Nandakaram Shri Gananatham Bhajare Chittapara Shaktiyutam Shri Gananatham Bhajare Agamadi Sammutam Akhila Deva Pujitam Yoga Shadi Bhavitam Bhogi Shahi Sevitam Ragadveshadirahidaramani Hridaya Viridam Shri Guru Gura Sanmuditam Chinnula Kamalastitam Shri Gananatham Bhajare Chittapara Shaktiyutam Shri Gananatham Bhajare. What is this ragam? I will reveal the ragam end of my VoiceTech live. Just wait for another 17 to 18 minutes. Okay. So we are again resuming after 2 to 3 weeks, if I am right. Now, my student Chitra Malai, she asked me recently, "Ma'am, I've been learning with you for the past 7 years, music, 6 to 7 years. Now, externally when I face the normal world, like normal people, Sangeet Rasikas, they ask me how many ragams I can able to identify. And with that, they will judge my education. So what is the relevance of one could able to identify ragas and their learning or knowledge for music is being assessed. So these two is being related. How many ragas you identify will tell how much you have learned for the past 6 years, or if it is not, then what exactly is the thing I can feel proud of, or I know that I've been learning to relate with the external world. Other than the teacher and the taught, when I go out, I need to face the situation. How do I face this situation, and where am I in this situation? This is a very beautiful question, which I thought, Chitra, let me answer in my VoiceTech, because this is something which I have undergone, being a daughter of Sangeeta Vidwan, Trivandrum Sri Arasmani. My father, in fact, my father and his peers or great Vidwans of those time, all of them were my father's friends, and they all had children of my age. If I see, I have been brought up in a totally different way. In the sense, I have been given values which is very much in depth and very much in depth in knowledge and value system, rather than assessing myself or matching myself or competing myself with the external world, requirements of that particular time. So even I underwent the problem. If somebody sings, people of my age will find out ragas like in a flick of a second. I will take a longer time. So that means my education was in any way, how do I say, superior? What is the opposite of superior? It is not, is inferior or
not up to the mark.
Not up to the mark. It was the other way around. I have always been protected and nurtured and been given feedbacks by Mahavidwans of those days, telling my father, you are bringing her up very well. They will come to my house, they reveal silently to my father and even my father's guru, Parama Guru, Syama Sastri. In fact, he told my father, hey, ask her to, I'll put her name for scholarship. Direct, I went into Government of India scholarship. So like that, they nurtured me, independent of identifying the ragas or throwing my knowledge, throwing my whatever I have learned, being very smart. No, that was not my requirement at all. Then what was my requirement then? Mine was, I had the luxury of learning the songs, or I had the luxury of given the basics in a very relaxed and very organic way. In the sense, I have been taught Varisais, I have been taught Geetams, taught all the important varnams, Adatalam, Aditalam. Then each and every ragam, my father will choose small kritis, very, very small kritis. For instance, if it is Todi, it will be Raju Vetalaju Tamburare. The Todi will be in a nutshell. Then Bhairavi, Ni Neranam Nitalli Nijamuga. If it is Shakarabanam, Bagumira Kamunato Palukakarada. All of them are small kritis, but the value of the ragams will be much more in that small framework. Drovanurada Shibu Manogara Vira Nanamu Drovanurada. So like that I was learning. I always see myself being protected by my father and his friends and the great Vidwans. So now coming to the point, how much a student can be pushed to make them identify and tell the ragas, and what is the relevance of that in learning Carnatic music? Well, you can identify the ragas, you can tell the ragas in a flick of a second and all that, identifying swaras and all that. But what happens when you drive a child towards this kind of knowledge? What happens? The actual growth of learning Carnatic music, which is the other way around, it's very slow. Slow in the sense, to learn a single line of a varnam, it takes repeated learning, listening to the nuances, and that kind of shraddha, that kind of time period you take is totally different from identifying a raga. Here, the brain has to burst, immediately finding out the notes, Sagarigama, Sa, Chatushrisham, Antaragandharam and all that, and finding the swaras, and by that way identify the ragas. In fact, people identify cinema music with scales. This again I would like to discuss. Scale in the sense they say the ragas with respect to the scales, the scale or swar it takes. Those songs will not have the required curves. I'm leaving A.R. Rahman sir and Ilayaraja sir. When they create Carnatic music ragas, I've always seen they don't leave the nuances. But with some other composers or in a normal sense of cinema patel, there's a lot of scales in which they identify the swaras. When you come back to Carnatic music, if you have to elaborate the ragam, the scale will not even have 5% of use in singing an alapanai in its grandeur, in its beauty and aestheticism. So, you need to decide which way you are going to take. If you want to learn chaste or pure Carnatic music, or the music in what all it demands, then I think you don't need to worry much about identifying the ragas. I will even say you can worry about learning the varnams or trying to get the nuances to the maximum by improving your listening skills, improving your focus, and improving your patience in sitting hours and hours to get that one point correct. Because if you have to sing a ragam, scale will be only 5%. In fact, I have to say this, sometimes when I go into a raga alapana, So I sang Ragam Dharmavati for about 2-3 minutes. I didn't even think about a single note or swaram. For me, Bhajana Jaya Radha, O Manasa Shri Ramuni Bhajana Jaya Radha, O Manasa Shri Ramuni go into the soul of the ragam, honestly you don't need swaras. But you need to learn the notations. You need to identify the swaras when you sing. That is again a skill which is very much a subject, one of the elective or one of the, if you take a circle and put lot of degrees, 30 degrees, 40 degrees, like small, if you cut a cake like one piece.
Pie chart.
Like a pie chart. So one piece is this identifying the swaras, and you should also know how to write a notation. That is very much essential and necessary. So I train my students, like for instance, I will never put them in pressure to identify the ragam. Okay. So if like they have learned the Shankaravarnam, they have learned a kriti with me, one or two kritis, and slowly I take them to the alapana. I teach them the alapana of the core sangaris. Teach means yes, alapana has to be handed over. I won't say it is taught, it should be handed over, the important phrases. When they do all these things, sometimes they ask me, can you tell me the swaras? At that time I won't say the swaras, I say, find out, start writing. So what they will do, they will come and write it like one prose order, like one such summary. For instance, Bagumira Sasarigama Pama Kanunato Papa Magarisa. So see, they will write it in like a structural form. It won't be in a tanam, it won't be in an order of each and every avartam, how many swaras it will take. So they will write it and come back to me, then again I send them back and make them write in that order, and that order will not in any way match to what we sing. This goes in a parallel way, and the song will be sung in a parallel way, but everything has to go inside a vidyarthi or a taught or a shishya in their holistic development of Carnatic music. It is like each and every piece has to be given by the teacher to the student. They should learn everything. It's like having put all the ingredients in a sambar. Finally, the person who learns to cook will get the aroma of the sambar, right? So all these things will make the aroma or the smell or the beauty of Carnatic music. So just by saying the swaras, you don't need to feel very, very high. Just by not able to say identify the ragas, you don't need to feel low. So Carnatic music is a development you can start at any age. There is no age barrier. Only thing is you should be willing to learn what all it demands, what all it needs to be learned to get a complete learning. What all it demands, and the subject what all it needs, you should be able to undergo that. So what I will say, the most toughest is learning the gamakas or learning the phrases, learning the aestheticism. That patience if you acquire first, that is the most tough. Then identifying and ragam and all those things will come easily, but it should come. So with that, I am closing today's topic of how much a person who's learning is necessary or is being rated for identifying ragas. So next week I'll come back with another topic. Till then, see you all. Happy Sunday. Bye-bye.